You want to know why we're lonely? Because we've architected our lives to be lonely. We are social animals. Of course it's hurting us. When you think about all of the problems that we're facing today, mental fitness, mental health, rising suicide, rising anxiety, depression, addiction, I mean, take your list, even people's obsession with longevity. And everyone's looking for a biohack for all those things. And there's one biohack that's better than all of the things that we're trying, which is friendship. People with close friendships are healthier, they live longer, but they have better coping mechanisms, which means they better deal with stress. One of the things we don't do is we are not good at making friends and we're not good at looking after friends. So basically, when you have healthy relationships, we are less likely to become addicted. When we are lonely, we are more likely to create addiction, right? Friendship is the thing that actually protects us, even if you do become addicted, right? Let's take the worst case scenario. So let's look at alcoholism. We know that to beat alcoholism, you join AA. And everybody talks about the importance of community and finding your community, right? But Alcoholics Anonymous knows that there's these 12 steps. And if you master 11 of the 12 steps, the disease is probably going to get you. But if you master the 12th step, the final step, you're more likely to overcome the disease. So what's the 12th step? The 12th step is to help another alcoholic, to become someone's sponsor. In other words, to become a friend. In other words, community, you find community, but then the final step of beating the disease is a friend, where you replace the community with a friend, and you have both. And we think community is the thing, but it's not enough. Yes, you can create belonging with community. It's giving them a sense of shared purpose with a group of people, but it's also providing new social connections. One of the things we don't do is we are not good at making friends and we're not good at looking after friends. There's an entire industry to help people like us become better leaders. There's an entire industry to help people be better parents. And if you're gonna have a child, if you've got a child, you've got a child with problems, you read all the books about how to be a better parent. There are no books or precious few books to teach us, and there's no industry to teach us how to be a better friend. Like, are you a good friend? Are you a good friend to your friends? Are your friends good to you? Do you call people when you are stuck and down, or do you make TikTok videos by yourself? I mean, literally, people who are depressed make TikTok videos by themselves to post it to get the validation for their feelings. But to call a friend and say the same thing you're struggling with is actually more difficult. And we think we have friends, yet we still struggle and feel lonely. If you have good friendship, you will not feel lonely. You may have moments of loneliness, and in those periods, you will pick up the phone and say to your friend, I need you, I'm lonely. And your friends will be there. You will feel not alone, that someone will get in the mud with you. And I think the problem is we don't give intention to friendship, which is we've got plans booked with a friend, let's call it a lunch. A work thing comes up, we call up the friend, I got a work thing. And the reason we keep bumping our friends is because they'll understand, they're our friends. So why aren't we prioritizing our friendships? Why aren't we saying to the work thing, I'm sorry, I've got a thing. If we had another meeting, we would say, sorry, I've got an appointment, I can't make it. So why don't we treat our friends with the same intentionality that we treat any other meeting? So one of the things that Will did for a friend that I thought was genius, brilliant, beautiful, Will's friend's dad died. Will texted him and said, I feel for you. I know what you're going through. I lost my mom at an early age. I'm sure you're being inundated with calls and texts, so I'm not gonna call you today. But what I will do is I will call you every single day at 9:45 a.m. Do not feel obligated to pick up. I don't mind if you don't, but when you're ready, know that I'm calling you. And for the next, I think it was 3 months, 8 months, something, he called every single day at 9:45 a.m. And for the first week, his friend didn't pick up at all. And then after the first week, he picked up every day and they talked every day for months. Think about the intentionality that somebody who loves and cares about you so much that they will call you every single day at 9:45 just so that you can see their name pop up in the caller ID to know that you're not alone. I mean, it brings me to tears just thinking about it. Like, how many of us are that good a friend? I want friends like that. Here's a good question, like, what's a friend? What makes a good friend? Like, I don't even know if we have a definition of that. I've been asking people, and somebody said to me, well, somebody who's there for you to support you in the hard times, that's a real friend. And I talked to somebody else. She has a friend she calls Mr. Schadenfreude because he seems to love when things go wrong. So in hard times, he's always there. He's always there in hard times. He gives the shoulder to lean on. He's giving advice. But in good times, he's nowhere to be seen. What happens is it creates this horrible sort of codependent relationship that you want to keep the hard times because that wonderful human being is always there. So you never want to let go and you become codependent. And so you realize that there's something called a fair-weathered friend who's only there in the good times, but be equally cynical and suspicious of the foul-weathered friend who's only there in the hard times because somehow it makes them feel good about themselves, but they're not there for the good times. And so you realize what's the value of good time versus bad time. So yes, you and I have friends that in hard times we would call them. But I would bet money that you have even fewer friends that you want to text out of the blue and say, I won an award, right? Think about that. Like if something goes wrong, I've got a group of friends, probably a dozen people I could say, I need your help. Things have gone horribly wrong. I need your advice. But if something amazing happens to me, that number probably shrinks down to 4. That I'm going to text out of the blue and go, something amazing happened today, and not feel like I'm bragging, not feel like I'm trying to overwhelm them or prove them that I'm better than them, but knowing that they will be so happy for me. And so I've started thinking that maybe a friend isn't just the person who's there for you in the hard times, but the person you can go to in the great times. Think about that. I have fewer friends that I can go to when things go perfectly than I would go to when things go wrong. So are those my true friends? So this is on the journey I'm on. I'm trying to understand what friend means, and I'm trying to understand the responsibility we have to look after those friends. You look at all the longevity studies, all the Blue Zone work. Sure, they eat healthy, sure, they walk a lot, but they also eat with each other. Whereas you look at some of the people who are promoting sort of longevity and all of those biohacks and how you have to exercise the certain way and eat the certain way, you'll find a lot of them are pretty unhappy people and pretty lonely people. I don't think they're going to live very long. So here's a crazy, crazy one. Physiologically, what are the most important organs to keep strong for longevity? Like we know the data. Number 1, heart, obviously. That makes perfect sense, right? You got to have a healthy heart if you want to live a long time. Second one, lungs. Got to have healthy lungs to live a long time. Cardio and all the rest of it, right? Don't smoke. Like we know that. Makes perfect sense. Do you know what the third most important organ is? The thighs. Thigh muscles. Do you want to know why? Because historically, thighs are the most important muscle responsible for what? Motion, walking, right? Not exercise, social, going to visit your friends. Before there were cars, before there were trains, we had to walk to go visit our friends. And so people who are mobile, if you're more mobile, you're more likely to maintain friendships, which means you're likely to live longer. So the 3 most important organs to keep healthy historically as human beings, heart, lungs, and thighs for mobility. Thighs for sociability, which I think is amazing that we never thought about. So all of these things that, technology has interrupted, mass transportation, cars, social media, all of these things, they've interrupted our ability to make friends, proper friends where you can look each other in the eye. You and I could do this over Zoom. It wouldn't feel the same. So a friend of mine was struggling. Her career, it wasn't going as well as she'd wanted, and her marriage was in a bad place. She knows what I do for a living. So she asked me, can you help? Can I come and talk to you and get some advice? And I said, of course. We got together every Wednesday for 90 minutes and she would tell me what was going on in her life. I gave her some advice. She felt amazing when she left me. It lasted about 2 days and then she'd go back into her slump. And then we'd get together the next Wednesday. She'd feel amazing for about 2 days and she'd go back into her slump. And this went on for months. This was our pattern, right? So I thought I was doing good work. Then I'd just rinse and repeat. Then I remembered my own work and I remembered Alcoholics Anonymous, which is the final step. The 12th step is service. Helping somebody who's struggling with the problem you're struggling with is the way to actually help you overcome your problem. So I have struggles, I have needs, I have insecurities, and I don't have a safe outlet to talk to. So she's one of my closest friends in the world. I trust her implicitly. So I said to her, I need the coaching as well. Can we split our time? 45 minutes for me, 45 minutes for you. She agreed. And I knew what I was doing, right? There was kind of an experiment happening, which I didn't let on, which is I wanted her to help me as a way of helping herself. And so what ended up happening was it would cease to be 45. We got together and for 90 minutes we talked about me. And then the next Wednesday, we got together and for 90 minutes we talked about me. And then we got together and for 90 minutes we talked about me. And within about 3 or 4 weeks, her life was full on back on track. Because when you help someone with a thing that you're struggling with, you actually end up solving your own problems. Find somebody who's struggling to make a friend and help them make a friend. Make it an act of service. Because fundamentally, if we dig down deep, the true skill that we've lost is service. You can't make a friend until you learn how to serve. Friendship is an act of service. And if you don't know the skill of service, then you probably don't know how to be a friend, let alone make a friend. I think you have to learn to be a friend before you can make a friend. Because people only want to be your friend if you know how to be their friend, right? The one thing that I've learned over the course of a career, and I'm now in middle age, is the people in my life matter more than I thought they did. The friends in my life matter more than I thought they did. Learning to be a human being matters more than I thought it did. Being smart, being successful, having the six-pack, having the Range Rover, any of those things is fun, but the people with whom I share those things matters more. Like going to the gym with someone matters more than the six-pack. Going on the adventure with someone in the Range Rover matters more than the Range Rover. Who I get to share money with and spend money on and give money away to matters more than the money I make. You know, I want to be really happy, and I want my friends to love me, and I want to love my friends.